Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to my latest Doctor Who video. It's Doctor Who Day today, everyone. That's always really exciting for me. I have seen this week's episode, Can You Hear Me? It's it's just a really good, fucking scary Doctor Who episode. And Doctor Who's famous for being scary, isn't it? So, look, as usual, the reactions will come out about ratings and whether you liked it, whether you liked Jodie Whittaker. You've got to look beyond that and think, did I like this episode? I think everyone who gives this episode a chance is going to like this episode. It is so off the scale. And the question I'm asking today, will Chris Chibnal really go there? Is he going to do what we're all going to do? Because this finale, The Timeless Children, is one of those it's one of those titles that gets you thinking, doesn't it? It's interesting that he's come out with that title and he's even called it that. He's done it on purpose. We spoke yesterday, did we speak yesterday? I can't remember. But I'm going to give you my whole theory again anyway, because it doesn't matter, right? The Timeless Children. Who are the Timeless Children? Well, I'm going to repeat my theory, and I can't even remember if I told you this yesterday. But anyway, so my theory is this, that the Doctor and the Master are siblings. They originate from another world, and basically the Time Lords took them and used them for the ability to regenerate, the ability to time travel. And that's my theory on that. So at this moment in time, it's looking like the Doctor and the Master are the Timeless Children. But could these other Doctors also be the Timeless Children? We're definitely going to find some stuff out in this finale, and it's going to get everyone talking. One thing this season of Doctor Who has done, it did get everyone talking last year, but for the wrong reasons. But this year, we've actually got people really excited for Doctor Who. The introduction of Ruth, the reappearance of Captain Jack, Chris Chibnall telling us he's not returning. Is he telling the truth? We're going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out, but I am really looking forward to this finale. I was thinking about this, and this is just a random rambling Doctor Who video, by the way. If the revival was to get cancelled anytime soon, I still would have been glad it happened. 13 seasons, right? Because we don't know what's going to be announced in Liverpool next week. They could say after season 13, no more Doctor Who. Anything's possible. I don't think that will happen, but you never know. And I was just thinking to myself, how would I feel about that? I would feel utterly sad. I think Doctor Who should carry on and on. But if it does end, I'm so glad that Russell T Davies brought it back. I'm so happy that Stephen Moffat worked on it. And I'm happy, love him or loathe him, that Chris Chibnall, three fans of the show, running New Who, bringing it to a modern audience, bringing so many people in, internationally, in terms of audiences, using the scope and the investment. And since Chibnall comes in, we've all seen the kind of directing and cameras, and the quality aesthetically has improved since Chibnall's come on board. It's been amazing. So if we were to hear this show was ending, I wouldn't have some smug, see, it's because of Jodie Whittaker, it's because of Chris Chibnall. No. I would think we've had 13 years. How many people revive a show, right? How many fans see their favourite show revived for 13 years? And we've seen some remarkable things in this revival of Doctor Who. It's been absolutely magnificent. And it's got people talking, theorising, and it's made Doctor Who even better than it ever was. So I've started rewatching Doctor Who from an Unearthly Child. And it got me thinking, guys and girls, if you ever want to write a piece of fiction, or if you're the showrunner of Doctor Who, that's how you introduce your companions. You've got the two teachers, Ian and Barbara, right? And they're fascinated with one of their students, Susan. Now, of course, we all know who Susan is now, because it was a long time ago since that first episode. But Susan is the Doctor's granddaughter. masterfully played by Carol Ann Ford, and it's the intrigue from the teachers and the conversation between each other, the way they follow her to see where she's going because they find out her address is fake. Then they meet the Doctor. The Doctor's winding them up. He won't let them in the TARDIS. And when he does, Ian's not having it. This is an illusion. What are you doing to us? How can the inside, be bigger than the outside? Now, that's not because he's stupid. It's because he's clever and he's thinking, this isn't... Everything I know tells me this isn't real. And I love Ian. He's a very intelligent, caring companion. Great guy. And I love Barbara as well. They're one of my favourite companions, by the way. And also, with the struggles I think Chris Chibnall's had with making these three companions developed and relatable and relevant, you look at how Barbara, Ian and Susan were used. Of course they used to splinter off sometimes, but something always compelling happened to each of those characters. I think the actors were tremendous. The quality of the actors who played Ian, Barbara and Susan was really good. But I think they're really good companions. And just the whole, even though you're watching that in black and white, the writing's so strong. It's so Doctor Who. The only thing I suppose that's really different is the Doctor. The Doctor is he's grumpy, but he's also a bit of a sod. Very different to what we're seeing from Jodie. Very different to what we saw from Matt Smith and very different to what we saw from David Tennant. I think Peter Capaldi, in certain elements, reminded us of William Hartnell's portrayal of the Doctor, but it's very, very different. He does mellow very quickly when they have their first adventure together and they land. What's it called? I think it's when they're with all the cavemen and the cavemen want them to give them fire and then they fight amongst themselves who's going to get the fire. Fascinating. It's a great first adventure. I just think, and this is why, because basically the only classic Who I've got is, I think I've got the first 4 episodes of Hartnell, I think. That's that first story, including An Unearthly Child. I've got the Daleks, I think, and I've got the Caves of Androzani, or how do you say it right, with Peter Davison, my first Doctor, by the way. And then what I would do after that, I would re-watch Doctor Who the movie, then Night of the Doctor, then get into New Who. So I'm definitely doing a full Doctor Who kind of re-watch. I'm really into it. So when season 12 ends, I can just watch it all. Of course, I don't know when Doctor Who will return. I think definitely on New Year's Day. Look, I don't think anything's going to change. We had a year, apart from the New Year's Day special, after season 11, we had no Doctor Who for a whole year, basically. The same thing's going to happen again, as far as I'm concerned. A New Year's Day special, and then we'll be back in 2022 with Doctor Who, probably, launching on New Year's Day again. I said this would be Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker's final year. Obviously, the BBC, instead of saying, you two have to go, they took Chris Chibnall at least to one side and said, we kind of like what you're doing. We get you're a fan of classic Who. We like the titles and the self-contained episodes, but we need more. We need a season arc, and he did that. And what he's doing is, he's getting us all talking. And as I say, this season has inspired me to start doing Doctor Who videos again. Inspired me to re-watch Doctor Who from the very, very beginning. And I think this season and what Chibnall is doing is inspiring a lot of people. So what I want to do now is just reiterate what Chris Chibnall has said about these finales, because I think it's very, very important. And also, Ian Gilder playing Zealand in Can You Hear Me? It was particularly fun for me because I keep appearing in the shadows. It was incredibly fun to play, especially with all the prosthetics and the CGI, which were off the scale, by the way. They were awesome. So, where are we? Yeah, let's go to the Doctor Who article and let's reread this if you're not interested in hearing all this again, because I think it's interesting to kind of theorise about what's going on. Doctor Who magazine reveals titles of 2-part series finale. The titles of the 2-part Doctor Who series 12 finale were revealed in Doctor Who magazine edition 548. They are Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children. Showrunner Chris Chibnall was interviewed about both episodes in the magazine. So listen carefully again, because I think this is important, even though we already know this information. Ascension of the Cybermen is set at the end of the Great Cyber War. This is a conflict that's reduced both the Cybermen and humanity to barely anything. So, it is set at the end of the Great Cyber War. This is a conflict that's reduced both the Cybermen and humanity to barely anything. I wanted to repeat that. It's the last remnants of the Cybermen against the last refugees of humanity. So it's very Walking Dead, isn't it? In this corner of the universe, these refugees are on the run from particularly relentless and ruthless Cybermen who are on their trail. They're relentless, single-minded and brutal. That's the essence of their monster personality. The nightmare is how do you escape them, because they're around every corner and just won't stop. The humans are desperate and the Cybermen just keep going. Ascension of the Cybermen is one of those episodes where the Doctor and her friends are all on the run from different threats. Interesting. We head into the next episode with the jeopardy of whether they're ever going to meet up again. Now, this is very interesting. Will they get back together? Julie Graham plays Ravio in Ascension of Cybermen. Chris Chibnal described Ravio an all-action hero in an interview with The Mirror. According to director Jamie Magnus Stone, if you were one of the last human refugees, you'd want Julie Graham on your side against the Cybermen. As for the Timeless Children, I can't tell you anything about this episode, Chris Chibnall told Doctor Who magazine. The Timeless Child is mentioned as far back as the Ghost Monument. And the final episode of this series is where some of those questions get answered. Interesting. It's a huge emotional finale with lots of Cybermen, and it runs for 65 minutes. So basically, it might be a bit boring for me to go over this again, but I think it's very, very important. This is the last cyber war. This is the final existence of the Cybermen. Now, we've already seen the Cybermen trailer. We've seen the original earmuff Cybermen with the little tears coming down, and we've seen a grittier version as well. That's interesting. While there are these different versions, apparently they're a lot more brutal than we've ever seen them before. Good. That's what we want. Many Doctor Who fans have complained about the use of Cybermen in New Who. Personally, I liked how they were used in Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel. I thought it was a really good use of the concept of Cybers Industries. I think they've been underused in some episodes, but still it's always good to see them. As I say, you can't please Doctor Who fans, but I think, and this is what's interesting, Chris Chibnall is trying to remedy that. And also, nobody else has brought back the original design of the Cybermen. So for all you people, especially you classic fans who hate on Chris Chibnall, you should be grateful for that. He's doing something that you want to see, but of course you're never going to like him because he cast a female Doctor. That's your lookout if you don't want to enjoy this. But it's pretty clear to me that Chris Chibnall is a big, big fan of classic Who. This is the reason he hates the intros before the opening titles, and that's why he mainly doesn't do them, but he was probably told to do them by the BBC because fans of the revival like that. I like that, but I get he's a classic fan. Listen, he's a Doctor Who fan like us, and I keep on saying this. And we all go on forums on Twitter and argue about what we love and what we don't like. And he's just doing it on a bigger stage. This is how he wants Doctor Who. Now, we might not all resonate with that, and maybe a lot more of the audience are not watching that as much as they used to. But as I say, 5 million after all said and done, with iPlayer views, with on-demand views, is still very, very healthy. And the money the BBC have invested since Chibnall's come in, no other showrunner has had the investment and budget on Doctor Who that Chris Chibnall has. That's very interesting. Now, the fandom menace keep on telling us that this show's not making money, that it's not selling merch. Now, I was saying this last year in my videos as well, and I believed it initially. But there's other avenues where these people make money. And there's no question about that. This show must be making money because the investment in Doctor Who Season 11, and the investment has actually gone up since Season 12. So it's pretty obvious to me that the BBC are more than happy to do this. And of course, you take a year off and you come back after a year, that kind of softens the blow of putting so much money into a show as well. So it's cleverly done. So probably that's why we have a year on and a year off. I'm fine with that. It's good to have a little break, have your rewatch, And if if we had yearly Doctor Who, maybe the quality wouldn't be there. But certainly, I'm really happy with the improvement in Doctor Who in season 12. I've seen the Doctor go through this solitude, her finding out that she doesn't know everything about herself. And it's interesting, isn't it? The older we get, the more we forget about our past. And this is what's happening to the Doctor. And I think Jodie is performing this so well. She's travelling with 3 people. But when she's discovering Ruth the Doctor, when she's discovering these other things, she's feeling even more and more alone because she doesn't understand. She doesn't remember Ruth. Why doesn't she remember Ruth? So, as I say, my underlining theory is, and I think lots of people are saying it, this is not my creation, this theory. The Doctor and the Master have a connection. Sacha Dhawan's already hinted about it in the Doctor Who magazine article where he speaks very eloquently about the Master and seems to get the character. I think they are brother and sister. I think they did originate from another planet. I think it will be revealed that the Time Lords are this kind of race that went around planets, stole technology, and stole things to help them become more powerful. So they discovered the Doctor and the Master on another planet. Let's call it Candice. The planet Candice. I actually just literally made that up. So let's just say there's a planet Candice, and when they were young, they were discovered by the Time Lords. They took them, they used them for the ability to regenerate and the ability to time travel. Now, obviously, if they were young children, they wouldn't say this is how you time travel. But obviously, maybe they stole the technology from the planet they found the Doctor and the Master on. But I want to know what you think. There's nothing more exciting for me on a Sunday when I know Doctor Who's going to air, and I'm going to, having already seen the episode, I'm going to go on Twitter and react to everything that you lot are saying. There's some people with an agenda who are purposely toxic to stir the fandom up, and there's those people who are as excited to be watching Doctor Who. We're lucky that Doctor Who is still on, that we still get brand new seasons. And the buzz and the chatter all throughout the week and on a Sunday is a beautiful thing if you're a Doctor Who fan. But you know what? You know what's even better, guys and girls? If you don't like this era, you don't have to watch it. You can just watch the era that you enjoyed. No judgment. No toxicity towards you. That's the great thing about being a Doctor Who fan. But as long as there's a show called Doctor Who, whatever states it's in, I'm going to support it. Is this my favourite era of Doctor Who? No. Is this my favourite version of the Doctor? Not yet. But the point is with me, I'm willing to say that she could get up there. And she's already winning me over this year. So I'm very excited. I love the character of the Doctor. And one more little mini discussion before I go. There's always been this discussion with Doctor Who fans that the companions are important. They are your way into this world. And some people even think the companions are more important than the Doctor. Nuts. For me, right, if I was running Doctor Who, I would take a season off. Like the standard companions, the girl running around with the Doctor holding his hand, or even what they're doing now. At least what they're doing now with the companions is a different dynamic. And I think it needed that, because every year a girl and a Doctor, every year a girl and a Doctor. It was getting a bit dull and repetitive, right? So I'm really happy, actually, that Chibnall's done this. And I think the whole point is that the Doctor is the star of Chibnall's Doctor Who, rather than the companions. But if I was running it for 1 year, I wouldn't have any companions, and the Doctor would arrive on the planet, and it would be a continuing adventure for the whole season. He'd make his friends there. There'll be new characters there. You wouldn't actually need a companion. That's what I would do, just to switch things up for a whole season. And I want to know what you think about that. And actually, I want to know what you think about everything Doctor Who I've discussed today. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, share the video, share the channel, and have a very, very happy Doctor Who day, because we're lucky that we're still getting brand new episodes of Doctor Who. Now, I'm going to go back to my binging. See you again soon. Actually, you'll see me when it's time to review this week's episode of Doctor Who. And I can't wait to make the video. Have a very nice Doctor Who day, everyone. And see you on the other side after you've seen this episode. I personally think you're going to love it.